A poor young lady arrived barefoot for a job interview with a billionaire. While others mocked her, she spoke with honesty and courage. The billionaire chose her over 20 candidates, seeing her determination and hunger for a better life. Despite challenges, insults, and jealousy from coworkers, she worked hard, proved her worth, and grew into a leader. Her story showed that true success comes not from appearance, but from character, resilience, and courage. Hey family, welcome to True Life Stories. Please subscribe and give this video a like. It truly means the world to us. Don't forget to share it with your friends and loved ones, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a new upload. Thank you so much for the support. Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's story. The tall glass doors of Kane Enterprises opened with a smooth hiss. It was a bright Monday morning, the kind of morning that smelled of new beginnings and whispered promises of success. Inside the grand lobby, the air was cold from the air conditioners, the marble floor polished so clean it almost shone like a mirror. 20 candidates sat on sleek leather chairs, waiting for their chance to impress the man everyone called the billionaire with a golden eye. Each of them was dressed sharply. Dark suits, shiny shoes, hair neatly combed, faces powdered with quiet confidence. Their hands clutched leather folders, and their eyes darted now and then toward the golden elevator that would soon carry them upstairs to the interview room. Among the polished shoes and perfume, whispers floated like smoke. Did you hear? The billionaire himself will attend the interview. He never does that. This must be special. I heard he plans to pick only one person. Out of all of us. Excitement and fear mingled in the air. Just then, the lobby doors opened again. Heads turned. Conversations slowed. Someone gasped softly. A young woman stepped in. Her clothes were simple. A faded blue blouse and a long skirt that had been ironed neatly, though the fabric was clearly old. But what truly caught everyone's attention was her feet. She was barefoot. Her toes touched the cold marble floor, dusty from the outside streets. She carried no leather folder, only a small, worn handbag slung across her shoulder. She looked around nervously but held her head high, her dark eyes steady, her back straight. A ripple of laughter spread among the candidates. Is she serious? One whispered. Maybe she lost her way. Another snickered. A young man in a navy blue suit leaned toward his friend and said loudly enough for her to hear, "Wrong building, sweetheart. The soup kitchen is down the street." The barefoot lady did not answer. She simply walked toward the receptionist's desk, each step echoing on the marble. The receptionist, who had been trained to keep a neutral face, struggled to hide her surprise. "Good morning," the young lady said softly, her voice calm, though her heart was pounding. "I'm here for the interview." The receptionist blinked. "Your name, please?" "Clara," she replied. "Clara Nwosu." The receptionist checked the list. Yes, her name was there. She handed her a small tag with the number 17 written on it. "Wait with the others," the receptionist said. Clara nodded, clutching the tag like it was made of gold. She turned and walked toward the row of chairs. The polished candidates shifted uncomfortably, some covering their smirks with forced coughs. No one offered her space. Finally, she found an empty seat at the far end and sat quietly, her bare feet tucked under the chair. Meanwhile, upstairs in the glass-walled boardroom, Daniel Kane, the billionaire, was watching everything through a hidden screen. He had insisted on seeing the candidates from the moment they walked into the building. Tall, broad-shouldered, with silver strands showing in his black hair, Daniel Kane was a man used to power. He could spot arrogance, greed, or desperation in seconds. He had already judged most of the candidates. Too proud, too rehearsed, too fake. But when he saw the barefoot girl walk in, something about her struck him. He leaned forward, narrowing his eyes. "No shoes?" One of his assistants said beside him. "Should we send her away, sir?" Daniel raised his hand. "No, let her stay." There was a pause. The assistant frowned but said nothing. Daniel sat back in his chair, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Interesting, he thought. Very interesting. One by one, the candidates were called upstairs. They entered the boardroom with their polished answers and confident smiles. Daniel listened, but his mind was half on the girl sitting barefoot downstairs. Finally, the receptionist called, "Number 17, Clara Nwosu." Every head in the lobby turned as Clara rose to her feet. The young man in the navy blue suit smirked. "Break a leg," he muttered under his breath. "Oh, wait. You don't even have shoes to break them in." A few others chuckled. Clara ignored them. She walked steadily toward the golden elevator. Her hands trembled slightly, but her chin was raised. The elevator doors closed behind her with a soft ding, sealing her fate. The boardroom was large and intimidating. A long glass table stretched across the room, surrounded by black leather chairs. At the far end sat Daniel Kane himself. His presence filled the room. Clara stepped in, her bare feet silent on the carpet. She clasped her hands together to stop them from shaking. Daniel studied her carefully. The silence stretched. The panel of interviewers exchanged glances. Finally, Daniel spoke, his deep voice calm. "You came here without shoes." "Yes, sir," Clara replied, her voice steady though her chest thudded. "Why?" A hush fell over the room. The panelists expected her to stammer, to apologize, to shrink. But Clara took a breath and said, "Because I refused to miss this chance. I had to choose between buying food for my mother or buying shoes for this interview. I chose food. Shoes can wait, but opportunity cannot." The room went silent. The panelists looked shocked. One of them cleared his throat, ready to dismiss her. But Daniel raised his hand. "Go on," he said. Clara's voice grew stronger. "I know I don't look like the others. I don't have expensive clothes or polished shoes. But what I do have is determination. I have skills. I have ideas. And I have a heart that will never give up. That is more valuable to me than anything I could wear on my feet." The panelists shifted uncomfortably. Some frowned. But Daniel Kane leaned forward, his eyes fixed on her. Around the table, pens stopped moving. The air seemed heavier. Daniel's lips curved into the faintest smile. "You," he said slowly, pointing at her. "Stay. I want to hear more from you." The panelists exchanged shocked looks. Ciel stood frozen, her heart racing, her eyes wide. For the first time since she had walked into the building, she allowed herself a small smile. And so began the interview that would change everything. The night before the interview, Clara sat by the dim glow of a kerosene lamp in the small, crumbling room she shared with her mother. The paint on the walls had long peeled away, leaving patches of bare cement. Outside, the sounds of the city drifted in. Honking cars, distant laughter, and the cries of street vendors calling out the last of their goods. On the floor lay her only pair of shoes, torn so badly the soul had nearly separated from the body. She held them in her hands, turning them over with a heavy heart. "They won't last the walk to the office," she murmured. Her mother, lying weakly on a thin mattress in the corner, shifted and looked at her daughter. Her eyes, though tired from illness, still carried warmth. "Clara," she said softly, "don't let those shoes stop you. You have something stronger than leather. You have courage." Clara swallowed hard. "But Mama, how can I go to an interview barefoot? They will laugh at me." Her mother reached out and touched her hand. "Let them laugh. What matters is that they hear you. Your voice, your ideas, your honesty. That is what will speak for you." Tears stung Clara's eyes. She pressed her lips together and nodded. Later that night, when her mother had drifted into sleep, Clara sat by the cracked mirror propped against the wall. She straightened her back, lifted her chin, and practiced her introduction in a whisper. "Good morning. My name is Clara Nwosu. I may not have much, but I have determination." She paused, adjusted her tone, and tried again. "I believe in working hard, in finding solutions, in never giving up." The words felt clumsy, but she kept practicing. Each repetition made her voice stronger, her eyes clearer. Finally, she leaned closer to her reflection. "Shoes or no shoes," she whispered, "I will go." The next morning, the sun rose golden over the crowded streets. Clara tied her faded blouse neatly, smoothed her long skirt, and brushed her hair into a bun. She looked at the broken shoes one last time, then pushed them aside. Her mother watched her from the bed. "Go, my child. And remember, opportunity does not wait for perfect shoes." Clara smiled through her nerves. "I will make you proud, Mama." She picked up her worn handbag, the only one she owned, and stepped outside barefoot. The streets were alive with noise. Hawkers shouted about roasted corn and fried plantains. Bus conductors leaned out of rickety vehicles, yelling the names of destinations. Dust rose from the unpaved edges of the road, sticking to Clara's feet as she walked. Some people stared. A group of children pointed and giggled. "Auntie has no shoes," one shouted. Others shook their heads with pity. But Clara kept walking, her eyes fixed on the tall glass towers in the distance, the part of the city she rarely entered, where wealth sparkled in every window. She whispered to herself as she walked, "I am more than shoes. I am more than clothes. I am a voice waiting to be heard." At the bus stop, she met her friend Chica, who worked at a small food stall nearby. Chica's eyes widened when she saw Clara. "Clara, where are your shoes? You're going like that." Clara lifted her chin. "Yes, if I wait to buy shoes, I'll miss the chance. This is my only shot." Chica frowned, worry clear in her eyes. "Those rich people won't take you seriously. They'll throw you out before you even speak." Clara smiled faintly. "Then let them. But at least I will know I tried. If I don't go, I will regret it forever." Chica sighed, shaking her head. "You're braver than me. I'll pray for you." Clara squeezed her friend's hand. "Thank you." She boarded the bus, ignoring the curious looks from other passengers as she tucked her feet beneath her skirt. The ride into the city center was long and bumpy. Skyscrapers rose like giants as the bus rolled closer to Kane Enterprises. Clara's heart pounded harder with every turn. She pressed her hands together tightly, whispering prayers under her breath. When the bus finally stopped, she stepped down onto the pavement, the ground cool beneath her bare feet. She stood for a moment, staring up at the glittering glass building that pierced the sky. It looked like another world, a world that didn't belong to her. Yet, somehow, her destiny was waiting inside. She took a deep breath. "Courage, Clara. Courage." And with that, she walked toward the golden doors of Kane Enterprises, each step echoing her determination. Back at home, her mother whispered a prayer, though Clara was already gone. "Lord, let them see her heart, not her feet." That morning, the morning that would change everything, Clara walked barefoot into the building, ready to face 20 polished candidates, and one billionaire who had no idea his life was about to be touched by a girl without shoes. The boardroom was silent as Clara talked about her story. Daniel Kane, seated at the head of the glass table, watched her intently. He said nothing at first, just studied her the way a jeweler studies a stone, searching for hidden worth. Daniel cleared his throat. "We will begin with a group task." At his signal, the secretary rolled in a cart stacked with files. Each candidate received a thin folder. "This is a case study," Daniel explained. "Imagine this company has only 10 million naira left to invest. You must decide how to spend it to grow the business. Each group will present its strategy. You have 30 minutes. A murmur spread across the room. Some candidates smiled confidently. Others flipped their folders open quickly. The candidates were divided into 4 groups of 5. Clara found herself in a group with the tall, arrogant man, the woman in the red suit, the kind young man, and another girl who looked nervous. The tall man immediately snatched the folder from the center of the table. "I'll lead," he said. "It's obvious I'm the best choice." The woman in the red suit rolled her eyes. "Fine, but don't waste our time." The kind young man glanced at Clara, as if silently asking her not to be discouraged. The tall man began loudly. "We'll put all the money into advertisements. Billboards everywhere. TV commercials. That will make the brand popular instantly." The woman in red clapped her hands. "Exactly. People only buy what they see. Spend big, make big returns." The nervous girl hesitated. "But what if it fails?" Shouldn't we test something smaller first? The tall man scoffed. That's the problem with people like you. Afraid to take risks. Business is about bold moves. Clara had been silent until now, listening carefully. She finally spoke, her voice calm but firm. What if we start with the people instead of the billboards? The group turned toward her, surprised she had spoken at all. Clara continued, if we invest in building trust with real customers, maybe by improving the product quality, or offering small community events where people can experience it firsthand, then word of mouth will spread. It may be slower, but it will last longer. Billboards disappear. Trust stays. The tall man snorted. That's small thinking. This is why poor people don't succeed, no vision. The woman in red smirked. Do you want us to spend the money on handing out free samples in the market? Clara's eyes didn't waver. Yes, if that's what it takes to prove the product. Because if people love it, they'll tell others. And soon, the demand will grow naturally. That's sustainable growth, not just flashy noise. The kind young man leaned forward, nodding. She has a point. Trust is more powerful than marketing alone. The nervous girl smiled faintly, encouraged. I think I agree. The tall man slammed his pen on the table. This is a waste of time. Billboards are the future. You'll see. When the 30 minutes ended, each group was called to present. The first group recommended opening international branches immediately. The panelists scribbled notes but looked unconvinced. The second group suggested luxury packaging. One panelist whispered to another, shiny on the outside, but empty on the inside. The third group, led by the tall man, proudly declared, spend everything on advertisements. Billboards, TV, radio. Make the brand impossible to ignore. The panel clapped politely, though Daniel Kane remained expressionless. Finally, Clara's group presented. The tall man pushed forward to speak, but the kind young man gently placed a hand on his arm. Let Clara explain, he said. Clara's eyes widened slightly. The group nodded in support. Slowly, she stood, her voice clear but humble. We believe trust is stronger than billboards. Our strategy is to improve product quality and build real relationships with customers. By organizing small events and offering direct experiences, people will talk about the brand themselves. It may begin slowly, but in time, trust will create growth that no advertisement can buy. Her words echoed in the silent boardroom. Daniel Kane leaned forward, his fingers steepled under his chin. His sharp eyes studied her, searching for weakness, but finding only truth. The woman in red whispered under her breath, she'll ruin us. But Daniel's lips curved faintly. Interesting, he murmured. When the group task ended, the panelists compared notes. Some were impressed, others skeptical. One panelist leaned toward Daniel. She's inexperienced, too cautious, not suitable. Daniel shook his head slowly. She's the only one who spoke about the people. Everyone else spoke about money. I like her thinking. The panelist frowned but said no more. As the candidates filed out for a short break, the tall man muttered angrily at Clara. You embarrassed us. Do you think trust pays salaries? This isn't a charity. Clara looked at him calmly. Maybe not, but arrogance doesn't build empires either. The kind young man laughed softly, unable to hide his admiration. You were brilliant in there. Clara smiled, though her heart still raced. I only spoke the truth. From behind the glass wall, Daniel Kane continued to watch her. Shoes or no shoes, he thought, this girl sees what others cannot. And that is rare. Sir, one judge began. Candidate 7 has an excellent degree. Candidate 4 has years of experience. But this Clara, she has nothing on paper. Daniel smiled faintly. Sometimes, paper doesn't show a person's true worth. The judges looked at him, surprised. Are you suggesting we choose her? One asked. Daniel nodded slowly. Yes, I saw fire in her eyes. Hunger, honesty, that cannot be bought or faked. The company needs someone who understands struggle, someone who will value every chance given. The final decision was announced later that afternoon. The candidates sat nervously in the hall again. A staff member entered with an envelope in hand. The chosen candidate is... He paused, scanning the room. Clara. The room erupted in gasps. Some candidates shook their heads in disbelief. One muttered angrily, "How can it be her? She doesn't even have shoes." Clara froze in her seat. "Me?" she whispered. "Yes, you." The staff member smiled. Her eyes widened, tears forming. She stood slowly, feeling as though her legs would give way. Daniel himself entered the hall. His deep voice silenced everyone. "I chose Clara," he said firmly. "Not because of her appearance, but because of her heart. Success is not built on fancy clothes or polished shoes. It is built on courage, determination, and honesty." Clara showed all of that today. Clara covered her mouth with her hands. Overwhelmed, she stepped forward, trembling. "Sir, thank you. You won't regret this." "I know I won't," Daniel said with a nod. "You've already proven more than you think." The hall filled with murmurs, but Clara didn't care. For the first time in a long while, hope wrapped around her like a warm blanket. As she walked out of the hall, barefoot but victorious, she whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning." Clara woke up the next morning with a mix of excitement and fear. The news still felt unreal. She had been chosen by a billionaire out of 20 candidates. She looked around her small, shabby room, the cracked walls and old mattress reminding her of where she came from. "This is my chance," she whispered, touching her chest. "I can't fail." She had no proper clothes for her first day. After thinking for a long time, she carefully ironed her one neat dress, even though it had faded at the edges. She tied her hair back simply and packed her small bag. When she looked at her bare feet, her heart sank. "Shoes or no shoes," she said firmly, "I will go." At the company headquarters, employees whispered as Clara walked in. Some looked at her with pity, others with confusion. "Is that the new hire? The one without shoes?" One woman murmured to her colleague. Clara ignored the stares and kept her chin up. Daniel's assistant, a tall, serious-looking woman named Grace, approached her. "Clara?" "Yes, ma'am," Clara answered softly. "Follow me. The chairman is waiting for you." They entered a large office with tall glass windows overlooking the city. Daniel sat at his desk, typing on his laptop. When he looked up, his eyes softened. "Clara, welcome." "Good morning, sir," she greeted, bowing her head. "Sit down." She sat nervously, her hands clasped together. Daniel leaned back in his chair. "I can imagine what the others must have said about you. Ignore them. You were chosen for a reason. Do you understand?" Clara nodded quickly. "Yes, sir." "Good. Your first assignment is simple. You'll be working as my personal assistant for now. I want to see how you handle responsibility." Her eyes widened. "Me? Your personal assistant?" "Yes. You will arrange my schedule, handle small tasks, and most importantly, you will learn. I don't expect perfection, Clara. I expect effort." Clara's voice trembled with gratitude. "Thank you, sir. I promise to work hard. I won't waste this chance." Later that day, Grace showed Clara around the office. "You'll sit here," Grace explained, pointing to a desk near the chairman's office. "Answer phone calls, file documents, and run errands when necessary." "Yes, ma'am." As the hours passed, Clara worked quietly, writing notes carefully and asking questions whenever she didn't understand. She made a few mistakes, spilling coffee on a file, forgetting to transfer a call, but she quickly apologized and corrected herself. Some employees snickered at her clumsiness. "She won't last a week," one whispered, but Daniel Kane noticed her determination. Each time she stumbled, she stood back up, refusing to give up. At lunchtime, Clara sat alone with her small homemade meal, plain rice wrapped in a paper. A group of young staff passed by, laughing. "Look at her food," one chuckled. "Not even a proper lunchbox." Clara felt a sting in her chest but forced a smile. She whispered to herself, "Let them laugh. I didn't come here to impress them. I came here to change my life." By the end of the day, Clara returned to Daniel's office with a file in hand. "Sir, Here are the notes from your morning meeting. He skimmed through them and raised an eyebrow. You write clearly. Very good. Her face lit up. Thank you, sir. He studied her for a moment before speaking. Clara, do you know why I really chose you? She shook her head slowly. Because I saw myself in you. Many years ago, I was also poor. I didn't have shoes either. People laughed at me, but I didn't let it stop me. And now here I am. When I saw you walk into that room barefoot, I remembered my own journey. Clara's eyes widened. You were once like me? Daniel Kane nodded with a faint smile. Never forget where you came from, Clara. It will keep you humble. But also, never let it hold you back. You have something the others don't, hunger. Tears welled up in Clara's eyes. Sir, I will not disappoint you. I believe you won't, he replied firmly. That night, as Clara walked home barefoot, she felt lighter than ever. People still stared at her, but this time she didn't care. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just a poor girl without shoes. She was a young woman stepping into her destiny. This is only the beginning, she whispered to herself, smiling under the night sky. The next few weeks were not easy for Clara. Every morning, she woke up before sunrise, washed her faded dress, and walked to the office barefoot. Her feet grew sore on the rough roads, but she never complained. At the office, some employees continued to mock her. Here comes Miss No Shoes, one sneered. Maybe the chairman pities her, another whispered. Clara heard every word, but instead of answering back, she worked harder. One morning, Grace, the chairman's assistant, handed Clara a thick stack of files. These reports must be ready for Daniel Kane meeting by noon. Do not make any mistakes. Clara nodded. Yes, ma'am. She sat at her desk, carefully checking each page. Her eyes ached from reading, but she refused to rush. At one point, she found a number typed incorrectly. She quickly corrected it, whispering, even small mistakes matter. By noon, she placed the reports neatly on Daniel Kane's desk. During the meeting, Daniel Kane glanced at the papers, then looked up at the boardroom. Excellent work. Everything is correct. Grace raised her eyebrows in surprise. She hadn't expected Clara to deliver so well under pressure. After the meeting, Daniel Kane called her in. Clara, you've done well. You noticed a mistake even I would have overlooked. She blushed. Thank you, sir. I just tried my best. He leaned forward. That's exactly why you'll go far. But not everyone was pleased with Clara's progress. A senior employee named David, who had expected to become the chairman's personal assistant, grew jealous. He often left extra work on Clara's desk, hoping she would fail. One evening, as most staff prepared to leave, David dropped a heavy file in front of her. Clara, type this out before tomorrow morning. Her eyes widened. But it's so late. David smirked. If you can't handle it, maybe this job isn't for you. Clara looked at the file, then at him. She felt tired, her stomach empty, but she forced a smile. I'll do it. She stayed late that night, her fingers aching as she typed on the old office computer. By the time she finished, the city was quiet, and the cleaners had gone home. She walked out barefoot in the dark, whispering, I will not give up. Not now. The next morning, David waited for her mistake. But when Daniel Kane opened the file, his face lit up. Perfect. This is exactly what I needed, he said. David's jaw tightened, while Clara bowed her head humbly. Later that day, Daniel Kane invited Clara to lunch in his private dining room. She was nervous, sitting across from the billionaire at a polished wooden table. Clara, he began, I've watched you closely these past weeks. You work harder than anyone else here. You don't let insults or obstacles stop you. Tell me, what drives you? She hesitated, then spoke softly. Hunger, sir. Not just hunger for food, but hunger for a better life. I don't want to remain where I am. I want to rise, so that one day, I can help others like me. Daniel Kane smiled. That's the answer I hoped for. You remind me of myself. Her eyes lit up. Really? Yes. Years ago I was poor and mocked too, but I held on to my hunger. That hunger built everything you see today. Clara's heart swelled with hope. That evening, as she left the office, Grace walked beside her. For the first time, Grace's tone softened. You know, Clara, I didn't think you'd last this long, but you've proven me wrong. Keep going. The chairman believes in you, and so do I. Clara smiled, her eyes shining with tears. Thank you, ma'am. That means so much. As she walked home barefoot once again, her steps felt lighter. The whispers, the stares, the pain in her feet. None of it mattered anymore. She was no longer just a poor young lady trying to survive. She was a fighter, carving a new future with every step. This is not the end, she whispered under the night sky. It's only the beginning. Months passed quickly. Clara was no longer the timid young woman who walked into the interview hall barefoot. She had grown more confident, learned new skills, and earned the quiet respect of many in the office. Even those who once mocked her began to notice her determination. But Clara still walked to work without shoes. Not because she couldn't buy them anymore, but because she wanted to remind herself of where she came from. One morning, Daniel Kane called her into his office. His face was calm, but his eyes carried a spark of excitement. Clara, he said, do you know why I've kept you close all this time? She shook her head nervously. No, sir. He leaned forward. Because you are more than just an assistant. You are a leader in the making. And I believe it's time to show everyone else what I see in you. Her heart skipped. A leader? Yes, he said firmly. There's a new project we're launching. I want you to head the team. Her eyes widened. Me? But sir, I'm not qualified. I don't even. Clara, he interrupted, his voice steady. Leadership isn't about the papers you hold. It's about courage, honesty, and the ability to inspire others. You've already proven you have all of that. Clara's lips trembled. Tears filled her eyes, but this time they weren't tears of pain. They were tears of hope. Thank you, sir. I'll give it my all. On the day of the project launch, the boardroom was full. Executives, investors, and staff members filled the seats. Clara stood at the front, her heart racing. She wore the same simple dress she had worn on her first day. Her feet were still bare. Whispers filled the room again, but this time, they were different, more curious than mocking. She took a deep breath and began. Months ago, I walked into this company barefoot. Many of you saw me and thought I didn't belong. Maybe you were right at that time, but I refused to give up. I believed that what I carried inside was more important than what I wore outside. The room grew silent. Every eye was on her. Today, I stand before you, not just as someone given a chance, but as proof that greatness can rise from the humblest places. This project isn't just about profit. It's about opportunity. It's about showing that even the overlooked can shine if given the right chance. When she finished, the room erupted in applause. Even the doubters clapped. Daniel Kane watched from his seat, pride shining in his eyes. After the meeting, Grace walked up to Clara with a smile. You were amazing. I've worked here for years, but I've never seen anyone move the room like you just did. Clara smiled, her eyes moist. Thank you. But I couldn't have done it without Daniel Kane's belief in me. Mr. Williams joined them, his voice strong. No, Clara. Belief alone isn't enough. You had the fire inside. You chose not to let poverty, shame, or even bare feet stop you. That's why you're here. Clara bowed her head, overwhelmed. That evening, as she walked home under the setting sun, the streets felt different. She was still barefoot, but this time her steps carried pride. Children playing on the roadside waved at her, and she smiled back warmly. She whispered to herself, from nothing to something, from barefoot to beyond. And deep in her heart, Clara knew her journey had only just begun. We've come to the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories.